information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, thank you for tuning in. 23 minutes before 10 o'clock. Nice looking Thursday. Hope you're doing well. Beautiful day. Sky is perfectly blue. Robin, we're not one of those areas that normally has to worry about air quality. Although every once in a while, the air quality report will say moderate.
Yeah.
And for those who've moved here from bigger, more polluted cities, they will go, really? Really? You call that moderate? This is beautiful here. I remember as a kid in New York, there was a commercial or I guess a campaign where the whole catchphrase was, what's one little piece of litter? Nothing. But you put enough of them together, right? And it's a big problem. Well, I jumped on board that. I was a kid, and it made sense, and it still makes sense, right? And so in that way, I thought, well, I'm an environmentalist. I think you shouldn't be throwing trash out your window. You should put it in a trash can, right?
Yeah.
And when you went over to the Hudson River or the East River, everybody always says the Hudson River, but the truth is both rivers were the same as far as how dirty they were. Yeah, it looked like it needed to be cleaned up, and from what I understand, I haven't been there in a while, but you were there a couple of months ago, and it seems like somebody's doing their job. As they say, the air in L.A. I remember flying into L.A. and seeing that big like dome of dirt in the air, saying, "Wow, look what we're doing." That was in the 70s. I hear that it's better now. I don't know for a fact. But once in a while, you hear these like really wacky stories. You'll hear somebody going overboard. So. And as a talk show host, I think I've heard every argument from every side in the environmental conversation, and there are some good arguments on both sides, and then there are some extreme arguments. And so let's talk about the extreme from the environmentalist point of view. I at the risk of being called a tree hugger, I do think we should be good stewards of the land. But for those of you who don't like tree huggers, keep in mind that I don't think we should necessarily stop efforts to be self-sufficient with our oil, or to perhaps say no to the what's called the pipeline. What do they call it again?
The Alaskan pipeline.
Not that one. The other one. Oh my goodness, I just forgot it. But anyway, Dan Kish is on the phone. I'm sure he knows the name. He is the Senior Vice President for the Institute for Energy Research. He served on the principal resource committees in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. Wow. He served 6 years as chief of staff for the Republicans on the U.S. House Resources Committee, and he served 4 years on the U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee staff. What a list of credentials. It's an honor to say he's on our show. He's on to talk about the impact that extreme environmentalist policies have had on us as Americans, and perhaps even putting a crimp into some of the things we're trying to do as far as a country collectively. Dan Kish, good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Robin.
You are an amazing guy. You've got an amazing background, an amazing set of credentials. So where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Okay, you're right in the heart of it then. So one little story from around here. When you build a house around here, you have to pay a very large fee if there's a tortoise living on the ground, because you've got to relocate that tortoise. I've never understood that big fee. I've always thought, why don't you just move the tortoise? Well,
see, you're way too common sense to be involved in the government. That's the problem. You just flunked government 101.
But at the same time, I feel like, I'm sure you heard the intro. I feel like I'm. What do you say? I feel like I want to be a good steward. I don't want the place to be a mess.
Well, I think we all feel like that, Larry. I think, that's this idea that somehow there are people out there that want to throw, dirty oil out the window or something, or spill things on purpose, or somehow hurt animals is just kind of absurd. I always laugh at the "I Break for Animals" bumper sticker, as though, well, nice thought, but I think everybody does if they can help it, and that's just an ethic. That's a Judeo-Christian ethic. I think it's held by most people. If we can avoid unnecessary risk to our environment, we're going to do that. And certainly in terms of aesthetics and the like, we don't. The days are gone when people just toss things out the window. For the most part, I mean, there are still some violators and that sort of thing, but most of us are very conscious about that sort of thing, and we try our part and all the rest. And yet somehow we're being forced in many respects to feel guilty for the way we live, the fact that we have air conditioning.
Absolutely, yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah.
And that's not. Sometimes movements take on, for all the right reasons, they get started, and they're logically needed and all the rest. And in terms of sort of the modern environmental movement, it's gone beyond simply worrying about things like clean air to all of a sudden telling us that if we don't change our ways, we're going to have immediate threats from global warming and that sort of thing. And I think those things are just well overplayed, and it's because groups need to raise money and encourage scare folks to contribute.
In fact, we had a guest some years ago who made a point that's a pretty interesting point, that the people who are fighting the oil companies actually don't have the same resources financially that the oil companies do. So who is paying for all their big campaigns? There's got to be somebody with some kind of a self-interest, and maybe another alternative fuel or something is actually fueling them. I don't know, not to use a pun there, but
right. Well, the truth of the matter is, these groups have an enormous amount of money. A lot of it's foundation money, groups that feel we need a different approach to our economy, that sort of thing. And as a matter of fact, there was just a meeting in Venezuela, it was reported yesterday, that 130 environmental groups called for the end to capitalism. It's a precursor to the Paris outfit, and there were a number of groups from the United States in that. So
oh, man. I had an argument with the guy about capitalism, too, and I said, well, how do you think we pay the bills? We sell something.
Yeah, exactly.
I never understood that whole thing.
Well, and I think we've seen the alternatives. If you really wanted to look at a terrible, terrible environment, you look at the Eastern European countries after the fall of the Soviet Union. They were the dirtiest. The government owned all the factories, so there wasn't anybody to blame but them.
Yeah.
And they literally used the rivers as dumping grounds, and they all kinds of toxic chemicals and the like. We, on the other hand, in the United States, now have the cleanest air of any advanced country in the world. I
love that you said that.
Way below that.
Dan, we have to take a commercial break. I apologize for that, but we will be right back. Love this conversation. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sun mixed with clouds today. A couple of drenching thunderstorms around during the afternoon hours. The high 89 to 93. A thunderstorm in spots this evening, then partly cloudy overnight, those 72 to 76. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a couple of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, high 88 to 92. For Saturday, partly sunny with a couple of thunderstorms likely in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Are you or a loved one struggling with trauma or substance abuse? Do you have questions that need answers? If so, join The Refuge and WOCA on Recovery Talk Wednesdays at 11 a.m., where we will discuss addictions and mental health disorders that affect our community. The Refuge is a leading detox, residential, and outpatient treatment center for adults struggling with addictions, co-occurring disorders, and trauma-related issues. Recovery Talk Wednesdays at 11 a.m.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
On which day are we most likely to have a tension headache? If you guess Monday, well, you're right on. If you want to get noticed, just smile more often. People, it turns out, spot others whose teeth they're showing when they smile twice as fast as those who have closed mouths. And they don't want to go where you want to go. They don't want to do what you like to do. If that sounds familiar, focus on your other friends.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Your home is safe, or is it? AA Lock, Dock, and Security. The name has been a staple in Ocala since 1985. Do you have the right equipment in place to have peace of mind when you are at home or away? AA Lock, Dock, and Security has the right people to install and monitor your home or business. Call today for a free on-site security analysis. Call 867-1965. AA Lock, Dock, and Security, 219 Northwest 10th Street, 867-1965.
Your weekends are getting a little retooled.
Swear to God, not making a joke.
Check this out.
New shows? Check. Some new talent? Check. Let's welcome the guys.
Let's get it going.
Arnie Spanier.
Unbelievable.
TJ Reeves.
This is what you get.
Your weekends are on fire. Because that's how exotic it is.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
All right, thank you. 12 minutes before 10 o'clock, 12 minutes of some intelligent dialogue now with Dan Kish. If you're just tuning in, let me just reintroduce Dan real quickly. He's the Senior Vice President for the Institute for Energy Research and has a whole list of credentials that I'll not mention again, but he is on the phone to talk to us about the impact that extreme environmentalist policy has on Americans. I agree with that, actually. And before we drew a blank, both Rob and I, about the pipeline. It's called the Keystone Pipeline. I'm sorry we talk about it all the time, and for some reason it just drew a blank. The Keystone XL. Robin said XL, and then it reminded me of the Keystone part. Dan, thank you for waiting during the break.
You bet.
So one of the arguments we've heard is that the environmentalists don't want the Keystone Pipeline, just to use that as a starting point again. And yet I don't understand that seems to be more environmentally responsible, because if you put the oil in a truck or a boat or a train, more damage could happen than I would think.
Well, yeah, and that's what the statistics all tell us. I mean, obviously the reason you have a pipeline is because it's underground. That means no one can drive into it or cause it any damage, and it doesn't have to dodge cars or trains or any of the rest of the things. Meanwhile, we've increased the amount of oil we're moving by train significantly in this country. I mean, it's just an astronomical increase. And while trains are safe and we all enjoy them and all the rest, the fact of the matter is anything moving on the surface clearly has more of a potential impact to derail or to get involved in an accident or something like that. So but what they really truly want, and they say, when you peel away the external arguments they use, is they want us to stop using oil. And as much as a lot of people think that might be a good idea, the fact of the matter is we're really blessed in this country to have huge natural resources, and Canada as well. Canada has the second or third largest supplies of oil in the ground in the world. So think about that. Instead of having to look to the Mideast with all the mess that's going on there and the threat to our national security and the economic strings that go along with that, we've got our friend and neighbor, close ally, people who speak the same language and have fought alongside us for 100 years.
Yeah, right.
Every war we've been involved in, willing to sell us, and all we have to do is say yes to a pipeline, which, by the way, would be the most advanced pipeline ever built, because the last pipeline built is always the most advanced pipeline. It's like anything else. You get better at it as you do it, and we're pretty good at it in the United States because we have, believe it or not, underground, out of sight, and out of anybody being able to damage them, are 2.5 million miles of pipeline in the United States that transport energy, oil and gas, and finished product.
Wow, and you hardly ever hear or never hear of any problems. So let's see. Arm me, if you would, with a debate that'll come here in Florida probably in the near future. That's fracking. Am I being an environmentalist or a wacky environmentalist if I'm against fracking in Florida for fear that it will ruin our underground water supply, our aquifer?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what the Environmental Protection Agency says, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency and all the states that are involved in fracking, there has never been a confirmed case of any damage to any underground water supply. And really, when you're talking about fracking, I guess one of the things that isn't well understood, when you're talking about hydraulic fracturing, you're talking about drilling. 90% of the wells that are drilled in the United States and have been drilled for a long, long time involve hydraulic fracturing. As a matter of fact, existing petroleum and natural gas production in Florida, and there isn't a lot of it, but there is some, all involves hydraulic fracturing. The only difference is, instead of drilling down and trying to hit a strata of about 50 feet of oil and gas bearing rock, what they now do is turn it horizontally and go across that rock. It's like a seam of coal. Instead of going down and just digging what you can get out of that particular area, you turn it and go sideways. And that's the real revolution that's happened. It just has taken on this. People who use the name because it sounds kind of sinister or something. But
and North Dakota is doing really well financially with their fracking operations, right? I mean, some of the best paying jobs right now in America is in North Dakota, right?
North Dakota, for all intents and purposes, doesn't have any unemployment, in the jobs that people do have are pushing $100,000 a year. Truckers, a trucker can go up there and make money moving things around from place to place because it's an amazing economic expansion. I've been there. It's just amazing. Small businesses cropping up all over the place, whether it's beauticians or small restaurants or some chain of the retail, you name it, because people are spending a lot of money and there's a lot of money to spend.
The notes that were given to me to be a little bit more educated in my discussion with you says that there's a billionaire environmentalist by the name of Tom Steyer who's raising money, I guess, to fight these things we're talking about. Why? What is in it for him? And is he targeting North Dakota?
Yeah, although North Dakota, I mean, to be honest with you, the places where this is supported the most are the places where it's taken place, because people can't be fooled by rhetoric that's pushed by some of these groups. North Dakota he's really focusing on gubernatorial and senatorial races nationwide. What's fascinating about him is he became a billionaire by building coal plants and coal mines in Indonesia and Australia to sell coal to the Chinese. And even the New York Times has cast a cocked eyebrow at his approach, because here's a fellow who made his money developing energy around the world, and then all of a sudden declared that he's an environmentalist and doesn't want us to develop any here in the United States. And he's been leading the charge against both hydraulic fracturing, but especially the Keystone XL pipeline. And what he said is he will put $50 million of his own money and then search for other like-minded individuals to affect especially the U.S. Senate races this fall.
And it's easy to persuade celebrities, especially young, attractive celebrities. I mean, they're not paying attention to this. They're writing songs, they're learning dance moves.
Yeah.
So you tell somebody, the little squirrel that you love, it's going to be gone. Mm-hmm. And so, oh my God, well, I got to do something. Yeah. And they get on the platform that they have, which is huge, and suddenly everybody who pays attention to Justin Bieber and his draggy pants, they're paying attention to him. And I think they should do what they do. I mean, I love Elvis Presley's response in his day. Look, I'm an entertainer. I don't want to comment. Mm-hmm. That's what they should do. It's what we should do, in fact.
Well, at least if they're going to get involved, I would say they probably ought to get educated about it. And so often they're just looking for free publicity. And so one of the ways they think they can get it, and their agents think they can get it, think it through for a minute, is, hey, you can go out and say you're for saving squirrels, and people will like you, and you can get a free press conference because you show up, and all of a sudden the press will be there at this.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's really about self-promotion, and they're really good at that, obviously. Stars and celebrities, that's what they do. That's why they pay agents big money. And it's a real easy thing because, like you said earlier, all of us like squirrels. it's nothing extraordinary to say that you're going to break for animals, because we all break for animals.
Yeah, good point.
It's our instinct. And, we wouldn't have the pets we have and feed the birds and do all the other things that we do other than, I'd just soon not have a gator come to my door the way you might down in Florida, but
they're so cool, though.
That's right.
Some people like them.
And they taste good.
Yeah, they sure do. and they are fascinating animals, but I just don't,
Right.
But it really seems that, we should all coexist with each other. I mean, we shouldn't drop off oil production at all and then all of a sudden have nothing. If this is what the people want, we should still be producing oil, getting it from our own country so we don't have to depend on those overseas, but also continue to develop the solar power and the wind power so everything can live in harmony and not just pick one over the other.
Absolutely. I mean, the best thing for us to have is a broad-based, diverse energy system that supplies us with what we need for the purposes we need it. And there's one really more important part about this than any other. We've all talked about how the air's cleaner and the water's cleaner than it has been for the last 100 years, literally, in the United States. That's because our economy grew and allowed us to invest in things. If you want to look at the worst environments in the world, go to the poorest places in the world. They can't afford to treat their wastewater before they put it into their streams or lakes. And that's how we used to live, and that's how Europe used to live. And it's the fact that our economy is advanced and energy was cheap enough to allow us to do that now allows us to, in a state like Florida, where alligators were once threatened because people did literally hunt them for food in order to survive. Now they've come back strongly, and as you know, there are many. They've come back from near extinction. So
we got a lot of them now.
We can do it.
Dan, before we run out of time, you mentioned something pretty important before. You said that if we're going to get involved in these discussions, we should educate ourselves. So give us a website or something that will help us out with that.
Well, ours at the Institute for Energy Research is just that, instituteforenergyresearch.org. And
okay, and that's the one I have here too. So for the listeners' sake, it's easy. Just go to our website and you'll find that website at the 9:30 slot for today's guest list and Dan Kish's name. instituteforenergyresearch.org. Fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate the fact that you took some time out of your day to spend it with us, Dan.
Anytime. Thanks so much, Larry. Thanks so much, Robin.
Good. And if you're ever in Florida, try some gator. Have you had gator tail? It's good stuff.
I have had gator, and gator's great.
It really is. All right. Dan, thank you. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Reuters reporting that a passenger plane which disappeared from radar over northwestern Africa has crashed. This according to an Algerian aviation official. There's another unconfirmed report that the plane is in a river.
Radar lost track of the flight about 50 minutes after it took off from Burkina Faso in West Africa. It was supposed to land at about 1:10 a.m. Eastern U.S. time in Algiers.
Fox's Peter Ducey. United Airlines will be the first U.S. carrier to resume flights to Israel after a 2-day ban because of the fighting in Gaza. Meanwhile, on the ground, the violence continues.
Israeli tanks and warplanes continue to attack the Gaza Strip. 736 Palestinians have been killed. Most of them are civilians. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is criticizing Hamas, saying they use their own population as human shields.
Fox Radio's Emily Wither, Fox News. We report, you decide.
Napa Know-How!
Napa supports the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. And this month, we're making it easy for you to show your support too. Make any $25 purchase, and you'll receive a free Napa racing cap. For every cap we give out, we'll donate $1 to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, supporting those who serve you. That's Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 7/31/14.
When burns happen, what you do first matters most. First Degree Burn Cream is the only solution that truly soothes the pain, protects against infection, and helps reduce the appearance of burn scars.
Me and my daughter were doing a craft together, and she reached over and grabbed a hot glue gun. She started screaming, so I immediately ran to my cabinet and grabbed my first-degree burn cream, and within a few minutes, her pain seemed to have gone away, and there was no scar.
Burns happen, so be prepared with first-degree burn cream.
Today in Florida Ag News, I'm a Southeast AgNet. Well, USDA and various partners note success so far in restoring the habitat of a pine tree synonymous here in the Southeast. Rod Bain has the story.
If you have spent time in the southeastern U.S., you have probably seen or know about the longleaf pine tree. It was once an ecosystem of over 90 million acres a century ago. However, its coverage area shrunk considerably. So 5 years ago, efforts began to restore this habitat. The result has been an 8% growth in longleaf pine, now at 4.4 million acres throughout the southeast. And that was cause for celebration Tuesday at USDA headquarters for the partners of the America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative. Representing USDA at the press briefing was Undersecretary Robert Bonney, who says this initiative
demonstrates that the way we have to do conservation is through partnerships. And longleaf, in that sense, is just a great story. And even 25 years ago, we didn't have what we had today. And you think about where we are today, and you think about the turnaround. It's a great testament to what we can accomplish together.
Almost $3.4 million in grants were announced by the partners in this initiative, awarded to 15 projects in 8 states.
The amazing thing about the longleaf pine story is, yes, it used to be a 90 million acre ecosystem. Yes, a decade or more ago it was 3 million acres, but today it's 4 million acres and going north. And it's a great success story, one that we don't hear about a whole lot. And the reason for that is what exists today and what didn't exist when my grandfather was wanting to plant longleaf pine is that there's an infrastructure of partners. There's government partners, Fish and Wildlife Service, USDA, Forest Service, NRCS, DOD, state agencies. There are private companies interested in this. There are foundations, there are conservation groups, there's forest products companies, there's this entire infrastructure that's built around longleaf.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
For more on this and other stories, just go to our website at southeastagnet.com. Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Palm Chevrolet, where supporting the community is the Palm Chevy way, and by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
Men, do you know your testosterone level? Are you experiencing decreased energy levels or unusual sleeping problems? Have you noticed you have less strength or endurance, decreased sex drive, increased irritability or depression? If so, you may be experiencing problems with low testosterone. If you're interested in a free testosterone screening, please call Rinstar Medical Research at 352-629-5800. Again, that number is 352-629-5800.
Sign up for this year's Marion County Heart Walk and be part of a local movement that's helping others live longer, healthier lives. Join me, Corey Poole, your 2014 Marion County Heart Walk Chairman, and walk with me on Saturday, October the 4th at the Baseline Road Trailhead. It's a free event promoting physical activity and heart-healthy living. To find out how you can help fight the #1 killer of all Americans, visit us online at marionheartwalk.org.
Listen up. On Monday, July 28th at 11 a.m., our guest on AM Ocala Live will be Edna Turner DiGenesti, owner of Unique Lingerie at Market Street at Heathbrook. This charming lady has been with us before.
And it's always fun and informative. You'll learn about what else? Unique Lingerie, proper fit, special gifts. Who knows? Edna may spill some news about a new line she has developed. Tune in at 11 a.m. on Monday and call in to 622-9622 with your questions, or call Edna at 629-5590.
On Friday, July 25th, the Marion Dunn Masonic Lodge No. 19 will again host its popular public open house event at the Lodge in Ocala from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. The annual event is free and open to the public. The public is invited to attend a short program which will briefly look at Freemasonry and the rich 165-year history of Marion Dunn Masonic Lodge, the roots of Freemasonry and the impact it has upon the world, our nation, innovative medical research, childhood diseases, and our community. community will be presented. There will be no soliciting, and visitors should feel free to ask questions and look around undisturbed as they view the artifacts and the inside of the lodge. Plus, refreshments will be served. The address of the event is 1846 Southeast 36th Avenue in Ocala. If you'd like more information, give the lodge a call at 352-694-2461 or go on Facebook to Marion Dunn Masonic Lodge number 19. The public open house event is sponsored in part by BTB Contracting.
Career Source Citrus Levy Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source Citrus Levy Marion and learn how they can help you.
Are you or a loved one struggling with trauma or substance abuse? Do you have questions that need answers? If so, join The Refuge and WOCA on Recovery Talk Wednesdays at 11 a.m., where we will discuss addictions and mental health disorders that affect our community. The Refuge is a leading detox, residential, and outpatient treatment center for adults struggling with addictions, co-occurring disorders, and trauma-related issues. Recovery Talk Wednesdays at 11 a.m.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sun mixed with clouds today. A couple of drenching thunderstorms around during the afternoon hours. The high 89 to 93. A thunderstorm in spots this evening, then partly cloudy overnight, those 72 to 76. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a couple of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, high 88 to 92. For Saturday, partly sunny with a couple of thunderstorms likely in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Thank you, Joe. 8 minutes after 10 o'clock. Nice looking Thursday morning. I hope you're doing well. Robin is busy trying to get our next guest on the phone. We did not get a call, so she's calling him, and hopefully we'll be able to speak to Leroy Fleming. He's written an interesting book, and I'm hoping that we get to chat with him. In the meantime, I got a couple things I want to tell you about. You've probably heard us talking about the giveaway that Chick-fil-A here in the Paddock Mall is doing. They are giving away 50 chicken sandwiches absolutely for free. They are giving those 50 sandwiches to people that we, WOCA, recommends. That's the partnership between us and the Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall. Now, the reason we're doing this is to give you a way, as a listener, to recognize somebody in the community, an organization that is doing some great things. That organization can be a nonprofit, or it can actually be a business. Maybe there's a group of nurses or a group of street the street repair guys, the city workers, or maybe there's just a department in a larger organization, and you know that they do such a fabulous job that it's a thankless job. Maybe it's the police, maybe it's the firefighters, maybe it's the folks at the animal shelter, or maybe a nursing home, or my goodness, it goes on and on and on. The 50 chicken sandwiches simply are given away by one of you doing the following thing. We do this once a month. We do it at the end of each month, and we're getting close to the end of this month. You just need to get us a letter, and that letter doesn't have to be perfectly written. You don't have to be a perfect writer, but you have to make a case. You have to tell us why the people that you are nominating would be a good recipient for these 50 chicken sandwiches. You know, the chicken sandwiches are a wonderful thing, but it's really not about that. It's really about you putting somebody in the spotlight just for a moment to say, you know what, I just want you to know that I recognize the hard work that you put into the task that you have at hand. And it's just a small gesture that I've written a letter to WOCA. They picked my letter, and now you and your crew get 50 sandwiches. Now, if you send us a letter, let's say for July, and we do not pick your letter, it does not get thrown away. We keep all the letters. In fact, we've got those letters right now waiting in a file over at Robin's desk because we get those letters, we put them in there, and then at the end of the month, we're getting close to that point now. I guess the end of the month would be, a week from today or so? So at the end of the month, we will go over to Chick-fil-A here in the Paddock Mall. We'll speak to Brian. Brian will come over here into the studio. We make a little bit of a show of it because he brings one of the employees dressed in a cow costume, and we read the letter on the air that you have sent, and we, of course, announce who the recipient of the 50 sandwiches will be. We are doing this all the way through the end of 2014. It's been pretty successful, pretty popular, and for those who've won the 50 sandwiches, it sounds like, there's an emotional element to this, because the folks who get the 50 sandwiches understand that this is just somebody saying, wow, you guys do a great job. So bottom line is, if you want to recognize somebody, recommend them to us, send us a letter. It can be old-fashioned type, just write it with a pen on a piece of paper and bring it to us, or mail it to us, or you can send it as an email. The email address is WOCA@WOCA.com, and if you want the actual physical address, you want to mail it to us here at the Paddock Mall, I would ask you to call the office line 732-8000, because I don't know the address off the top of my head. I don't want to give you the wrong address, but you can drop it by. We're in the mall. But anyway, I just wanted to squeeze that in while we had a moment, and ask you to do that if you hadn't already heard how that works. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is that today at 4:30, there's a ribbon cutting for a company called Genius Tech. The Chamber and Economic Partnership here in Ocala and Marion County has teamed up with WOCA so that we can spread the word about some of these ribbon cuttings. The ribbon cuttings are in public events. You're invited to these things. And for example, yesterday there was one at Burger King. I saw the mayor. I saw Mayor Ken Gwynn wearing a crown, a Burger King crown.
Oh, in his photo.
In his photo, yeah, I wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't go anywhere. I stay here. But I did see photographs. Hey, how you doing? So anyway, the ribbon cutting today is at Genius Tech, and that is on Baseline Road, right across from Anytime Fitness. That address is 3275 Southeast 58th Avenue. They've got food and drinks they're giving away. They've got $250 in gift certificates they're giving away. You can win a computer monitor, and there's also some discount services, I guess, that they will be letting you know about. The time for the ribbon cutting today is 4:30 if you want to do that. Was that just the phone? Did I miss it?
No.
No, okay.
No, nothing yet.
And the other ribbon cutting tomorrow is for a singer and a songwriter.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Or a singer and an entertainer. I don't know if he's a songwriter. Yeah, an individual. His name is Mark. What is his name? Mark Raisch, R-A-I-S-C-H. He is a performer over at Arthur's Bistro at the Hilton, the Ocala Hilton, and you're invited to his ribbon cutting. His is also at 4:30, but his is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tomorrow you would want to go to the Hilton. His website is marksings.com. Let me tell you about the details on the ribbon cutting. His ribbon cutting is tied in with a dinner show from 4 to 6. Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says here, Mark is a classy, engaging, and exciting singer who truly entertains. So go ahead and enjoy his music tomorrow. Let's congratulate him on being a member of the Chamber and Economic Partnership and get to know a talented man in our community, Mark.
That's right.
All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sun mixed with clouds today. A couple of drenching thunderstorms around during the afternoon hours. The high 89 to 93. A thunderstorm in spots this evening, then partly cloudy overnight, low 72 to 76. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a couple of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, high 88 to 92. For Saturday, partly sunny with a couple of thunderstorms likely in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Attention! Anyone interested in buying a new Chevrolet at GM supplier pricing or lower, turn up your radio now. The red, white, and boom sale starts now at Palm Chevrolet of Ocala. We've been instructed by General Motors to eliminate hundreds of new Chevrolets at GM supplier pricing or lower. You pay less than we pay, with no hassles or negotiations. The price you see is the price you pay on hundreds of new Chevrolets at GM supplier pricing or lower. 0 down on every new Chevy. No payments for 90 days. 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, Palm Chevrolet of Ocala will take any trade, even if you owe thousands thousands more than it's worth. And only Palm Chevrolet of Ocala gives you 2 years of free maintenance on every new and certified vehicle. Get GM supplier pricing or lower. No money down, no payments for 90 days. 0% financing for 72 months. During the Red, White, and Boom sales event. Only at Palm Chevrolet of Ocala. 2300 Southwest College Road, exit 350. Just east of I-75 in beautiful Ocala. Or visit palmchevrolet.com. 0 APR is $13.89 per thousand finance. Excludes Corvettes plus tax, title, license with approved credit. Find new roads. palmchevrolet.com.
Sign up for this year's Marion County Heart Walk and be part of a local movement that's helping others live longer, healthier lives. Join me, Corey Poole, your 2014 Marion County Heart Walk Chairman, and walk with me on Saturday, October the 4th at the Baseline Road Trailhead. It's a free event promoting physical activity and heart-healthy living. To find out how you can help fight the #1 killer of all Americans, visit us online at marionheartwalk.org.
It's rodeo time in Florida. The 32nd annual Ocala Shrine Rodeo returns with the best of man, muscle, and a stampede of horsepower. August 29th and 30th, witness America's #1 sport and the greatest show on dirt. Showtime, 7:30 each night at the Southeastern Livestock Pavilion. For rodeo information, call 352-402-8808. August 29th and 30th. Don't miss the Ocala Shrine Rodeo.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
We are The Source, WOCA, news, talk, sports, and more.
All right, 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of interesting stories in the news. First of all, I want to let you know that the Hubble Space Telescope will pass almost directly overhead tonight at 9 p.m.
That is awesome.
For those of you who are science and outer space geeks and things like that, and I'm one of you. So the Hubble telescope, space telescope, obviously has no light of its own. So when you see it, you're actually looking at reflected light off of the sun. But it is expected to be visible overhead tonight at 9 p.m. And here are the details. It will be the brightest satellite visible tonight, the brightest artificial satellite. It'll reach a 0.8 magnitude when directly overhead, which is it's very bright. The lower the number, the brighter it is, I guess. It will not be as bright as Arcturus. I don't even think I knew the name Arcturus until today. Arcturus is the bright star that is nearly overhead at 9 p.m., standing in the state of Florida.
Oh, my.
You would have to get out of your house at 8:54 tonight, 6 minutes to 9, in order to see the Hubble Space Telescope. You will first see it rise over the western horizon, so look to the west, young man, and you will see it. It will be dimmer at that point because it gets brighter as it becomes more overhead, almost invisible at a magnitude 5.7. So if you look to the west and you've got really good eyes or whatever you're using, binoculars or whatever, you might see it. When the Hubble Space Telescope reaches 10 degrees altitude, that'll be at 8:55 and 33 seconds.
Wow.
It will still only be a magnitude 4.7, which is barely noticeable. But it will remain as bright as a magnitude 2.8 as it descends to the eastern horizon. So once it becomes like directly overhead, it'll be the brightest, which is 0.8 magnitude. For those of us who really don't know much about this stuff, and I'm one of them, it'll look like a dot. It'll look like a star. It might look like an airplane, although not really, because airplanes don't usually look like satellites, but
yeah.
So you won't really be able to see that it's the Hubble telescope, but it can see you. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it could. It's huge.
If you turn it around.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the photographs that this thing has taken? Some of the amazing photographs that the Hubble telescope has taken deep into outer space. There was an article, or rather a video I was watching that showed this. And scientists aimed it at a part of the universe that they thought would basically have nothing in it because nothing had ever been really observed there. But when they took the super telescopic abilities of this Hubble telescope, they were able to get this amazing picture from a tiny, tiny what would appear to be a tiny fraction of our sky from our perspective. And in that tiny fraction, it showed hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of galaxies, not planets, galaxies.
Wow, that is
amazing. We're in the Milky Way galaxy, and our galaxy is one of millions of galaxies, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just it's an amazing thing to think. I can't even fathom how tiny we really are compared to the whole, to everything.
Exactly.
It is just amazing. And then when you think about how much we can actually perceive, the amount of light that we can see compared to the amount of light that actually is out there.
Yeah, we take it for granted.
There was this scientific study that I watched again on a video, and the video was made by the NOVA people. These are the folks that make those cool science videos that you see on PBS.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
And it showed the wavelength of light, and it was putting it into perspective so that to illustrate how little we actually see. We see the colors of the rainbow. What is it, Robin? Roy G. Biv?
Yep, Roy G. Biv.
Red, orange, yellow,
green, blue, indigo, violet.
Now,
Roy G. Biv.
Now, those are all wavelengths. They can be measured, I guess, in wavelengths. And the wavelengths become tinier and tinier and tinier on one end and wider and wider and wider on the other end.
So amazing.
And if you took that entire ribbon, if you will, of the real spectrum, and you stretched it from New York City to Los Angeles. Now, this is not a real thing that you could do, but it would be just a way to understand something. The amount of that ribbon, the part of that ribbon that would be visible light to you and I, would be the size of a dime.
Isn't that something?
That's how little we can actually see.
Gosh.
When we did this experiment, we heard about this device that convenience stores were using to discourage loitering outside of their stores by teenagers. And the device was a sound device. It put out an audio sound, had speakers, and it put out a sound that was a high-pitched, very loud sound, and the teenagers couldn't stand it. So they would leave, and they wouldn't be loitering outside the convenience stores.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anybody who was 30 years old or over, or maybe even in their upper 20s, depending on how much they abused their hearing in their lifetime, they couldn't hear this. They couldn't hear these sounds, and so it didn't bother them at all. Now, when I read this article, I said, oh, come on, you got to be kidding. There's a sound like that? Mm-hmm. Now, at this point, I was, right now, we're knocking on 60, so we must have been, it's only like 4 years ago, because I remember Dan and Joe were here, so... Mm-hmm. So let's say we were 55, 56 years old. So I went to this website that had this sound that you could download. And I downloaded this supposedly unhearable sound unless you're a teenager or very young.
Yeah.
And I played it in the end. What do you call it? The
production studio.
Production studio. Thank you. Played it in the production room. The VU meters were pegged. I mean, they went all the way to the right.
Yeah.
I said, "Look at this, Robin. It looks like there's a sound, but there is no sound. We can't hear anything. And you didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. Joe didn't hear it.
No.
Now Dan, who's in his 30s, he came in and he could hear it.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But he could hear it. But then the real test was when my son came in, Alex, because he was still at the time in his early 20s, right? He comes in and, Dad, why is it so loud? That's crazy. Why are you playing that so loud? And I said, you're kidding me. You can hear that? You can hear that? Yes. How come you can't hear it? I said, Alex, I swear to you, I can see the VU meter indicating that there's some very loud sounds in here.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear anything. You didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. It was piercing to him. It was noticeable to Dan, and the rest of us 50-something people. It was gone. He couldn't hear it at all. At all. Mm-hmm. And so what does that tell you? And then they say the dogs can hear things that we can't hear. They can smell things that we can't smell.
I believe that. I
don't know if there's a spectrum for touch or for kinetic things, but just think about how little we can actually perceive. We don't hear but a tiny piece of what is hearable or what is considered audio. We don't see anything but a tiny little piece of what is considered visual, right? We only can taste. I don't know how taste is measured, and smell. We can only smell a certain, right?
Exactly.
And then touch is the only other scent that I don't know about. I mean, scents. I don't know if touch has a measurable thing. Are there things we can't feel that other animals can feel? See?
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing to think how little we can actually perceive. We do have somebody on the phone. Is somebody trying to call in, Patsy? Yeah? No? Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Hugh. How you doing?
Very good. Good program. See, I finally found my binoculars. I had them hidden again like I usually do because I want to check out the Humble this evening when it goes by. But I was thinking, if the Humble was there when they landed on the moon, do you think they could have turned it around and watched those guys walking?
Really? That's a good question. Yeah, and we've often wondered when people were saying we never landed there, we were saying, well, why don't they aim the Hubble at the moon and find that flag and settle the whole argument? But
yeah, there you go. That's a good idea.
Yeah, but they never did that. The way they settled it was that Japanese flight that went very close to the surface, and they were able to get shots of the stuff we left there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Yeah, get your binoculars out and see if you can see that thing flying over. Mm-hmm. And by the way, just to piggyback on that, the flags that were left on the moon, apparently, and I don't know that we knew this until that Japanese spacecraft went over the moon, the flag that was the first flag that was planted. By the way, today is the 45th anniversary since Apollo 11 returned.
Wow.
Apollo 11 splashed down, the astronauts did, in the Pacific Ocean, safely returning to Earth after being the first 3 people to be at the moon. Of course, only 2 of them walked on the moon. Well, actually, they weren't the first 3 at the moon. There were other people at the moon. But Neil Armstrong and
Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin were the first 2.
Michael Collins.
Yeah, so Michael Collins was flying around, and the other 2 guys were walking. So the first 2 men who ever walked on the moon safely landed in the Pacific Ocean on this date in 1969. And there was this whole speculative thing by these nuts who thought we never really did this, and they tried to prove that we never did it. And there's a ton of videos out there that tried to make that point. But now you have this new evidence from this Japanese spacecraft that flew close to the surface of the moon and was able to get these pictures. And among the things, there was a story the other day about these pranksters, whatever you want to call them, in New York that took the American flags down off the Brooklyn Bridge and replaced them with white flags.
Yeah.
And they were actually American flags that were bleached white. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently the flags on the moon have all been bleached white also by the sun, because there's nothing filtering the sun, so it's pure ultraviolet light hitting those flags for 45 years.
Right.
And all the color in the red, white, and blue flags has been washed out, and now they're all white. The flag that was planted closest to the first lunar excursion module was knocked over when it took off. Mm-hmm. And Buzz Aldrin actually reported that he saw it fall over. So we knew that fell over. And then after that, NASA decided, well, when you plant the flag before you leave, make sure it's far, far away. Or when you plant so that it won't fall over. But anyway, so
interesting stuff.
Went on a huge tangent there after just trying to tell you about this Hubble Space Telescope. Again, tonight at 9 p.m., if you go outside at 8:54, that's when it'll start to rise over the western horizon. And it'll be at 10 degrees, it'll be at 8:55:33. About 9 o'clock directly overhead, if you have some binoculars, you'll probably see a white glimmering dot, and that's the Hubble Space Telescope. Nice. All right, we will be back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Reuters reporting that a passenger plane which disappeared from radar over northwestern Africa has crashed. This according to an Algerian aviation official. There's another unconfirmed report that the plane is in a river.
Radar lost track of the flight about 50 minutes after it took off from Burkina Faso in West Africa. It was supposed to land at about 1:10 a.m. Eastern U.S. time in Algiers.
Fox's Peter Ducey. United Airlines will be the first U.S. carrier to resume flights to Israel after a 2-day ban because of the fighting in Gaza. Meanwhile, on the ground, the violence continues.
Israeli tanks and warplanes continue to attack the Gaza Strip. 736 Palestinians have been killed. Most of them are civilians. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is criticizing Hamas, saying they use their own population as human shields.
Fox Radio's Emily Wither, Fox News. We report, you decide.
Napa supports the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. And this month, we're making it easy for you to show your support too. Make any $25 purchase, and you'll receive a free Napa racing cap. For every cap we give out, we'll donate $1 to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, supporting those who serve you. That's Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 7/31/14.
When burns happen, what you do first matters most. First Degree Burn Cream is the only solution that truly soothes the pain, protects against infection, and helps reduce the appearance of burn scars.
Me and my daughter were doing a craft together, and she reached over and grabbed a hot glue gun. She started screaming, so I immediately ran to my cabinet and grabbed my First Degree Burn Cream, and within a few minutes, her pain seemed to have gone away, and there was no scar.
Burns happen, so be prepared with First Degree Burn.
This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. If this had been an actual emergency, such as a hurricane or tornado, official messages would have followed the alert tones. WOCA serves the Marion County area. This concludes the test of the emergency alert system.
Look who just walked in the room. Joel Wiesner from What's Up Ocala. Hey, Joel, I'm looking for something to do this weekend. You got any ideas?
Absolutely. Check out our event calendar online at www.whatsupocala.com, and there is plenty of events there for you. Daily news updates to event reviews and magazine articles.
Really?
We've organized it all in one place online for you to cut through all of the hassle of finding something to do this weekend. We have a daily event calendar, a bi-monthly magazine, and we also do daily news articles.
All right, Joel, that's perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah, whatsupocala.com.
Coming August 8th and 9th, the first annual Ocala Bike Fest. How would you like a chance to win a 2014 Harley Street Glide? How about a 2014 Indian Chief Vintage? The tickets are only $100 each, and each chance drawing has only 599 tickets. Now that is some great odds. All proceeds go to ARC. Questions, call 387-2210. The number again is 387-2210. Ocala Bike Fest. We'll see you there.
Let's face it, nowadays it can be hard to find American-made products, and that's something that Cabinet Sales of North Florida is well aware of. That's why they're an authorized dealer of Wellborn Cabinetry, family-owned and American-made since 1961. Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your answer for complete turnkey kitchen remodels and whole-house cabinetry. Their cabinets are finished with solvent-based enamels for a long-lasting finish that's second to none. Available in an incredible selection of door styles and colors to choose from to turn your dream kitchen into a reality. In-house design and drawing services are available. Come by and see our displays for yourself at the Floors of the Villages, 3935 County Road 216 in Oxford, or Exquisite Design Kitchen and Bath in Bellevue, right across the street from the Bellevue Library. So whether you're looking for bookcases, kitchen, bath, or outdoor kitchen, Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your one-stop source of quality cabinets. For a free estimate, call 352-427-2647. That's 352-427-2647. Cabinet Sales of North Florida.
News Talk 1370, WOCA invites you to discover your full business potential. News Talk Radio is the perfect environment for your advertising. WOCA's News Talk format pinpoints information-hungry, better educated, high-income adults, so use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000, 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370, WOCA.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall